The After the Affair podcast with me, Luke Shillings, is here to help you process, decide, and move forward on purpose following infidelity. Together, we'll explore what's required to rebuild trust not only in yourself, but also with others. Whether you stay or leave, I can help. And no matter what your story, there will be something here for you. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the After the Affair podcast. I'm your host, Luke Shillings, and today you're listening to episode number 163. I've noticed a few times just recently I've been watching TV shows. Some are just ones that are on currently, very popular at the moment, and others might just be sporting events that I'm a particular fan of. I love MotoGP. Some people may tune out as a consequence of that. Sorry. But in both cases, there are times where I've not been able to watch the show or the program or the event live, so I am watching it on catch-up. And it's sometimes in those moments when you realise that although I'm still feeling all of the emotions and the excitement and the anticipation and my heart's pounding, I'm reacting to every move and every word and everything that happens on screen, yet a lot of the people around me already know how it ends. They're calm, detached, they might even be laughing about it. That's what the lag feels like. It's the invisible delay that occurs between, often, the betrayed and the unfaithful partners. It's a time gap in awareness, understanding, and in some cases, emotional readiness. It's one of the most common and, in some cases, misunderstood dynamics that I see regularly in couples recovering from infidelity. And the reason it's so confusing is because on the surface, it looks like you're both living the same story, but you're actually living it on different timelines. I use the term the lag to describe the delay that happens when one person's emotional or psychological experience is ahead or, in some cases, behind the others. It's not intentional. It's not malicious. It's just physics. Healing and understanding take time, and that time rarely moves at the same pace for both people. I usually see it appear twice. First, in the awareness of the betrayal itself, and then later, the perception of change of repair. But as I'd like to explore today, there are actually layers of lag beneath both of those two, emotional, physiological, even identity-based, that go some way to explaining why this process can feel so out of sync, even when both of you want the same thing. So let's start at the beginning, the first lag, the awareness gap. The unfaithful partner has been aware of the betrayal long before the betrayed partner discovers it. In some cases, months, in others, even years. They've already gone through a whole range of stages of rationalization, justification, guilt, and perhaps even moments of wanting to stop but not really knowing how. By the time the affair comes to light, the unfaithful partner has already lived inside the story. They've had time to make sense of it, even if that sense isn't complete or healthy. For the betrayed partner, however, discovery day, that is ground zero. That's when the explosion happens. Their world has just been split completely into two. The life they thought they were living and the reality that they've just been exposed to. And here's where the lag really starts to take shape for the first time. One person has been walking this road for months, whilst the other has only just stepped onto it. They're trying to read a map while the other's already halfway down the path. Then add to that the gaps in the story, the half-truths, the omissions, the protective lies, all of the things that continually delay understanding. Every withheld detail widens the lag. Every trickle truth resets the betrayed person's clock back to zero. So while the unfaithful spouse might be saying, "I've already told you everything, why can't we move on?" the betrayed spouse is thinking, "I've only just found out what's real. How could I possibly be ready to move on?" That's the lag in awareness. It's not stubbornness or unwillingness to heal. It's the natural time delay that occurs when two people's realities collide at completely different speeds. Now, if we move one layer deeper, we move on to the lag of emotional regulation. So after discovery, even if the betrayed partner knows the affair is over, their body doesn't. Their nervous system is still acting as though the threat is active, scanning for danger, replaying images, imagining worst-case scenarios. You can't reason with a body that's still in survival mode. So, while the unfaithful partner might be calm and logical, explaining, reassuring, showing consistency, the betrayed partner's body is still flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. The conversation isn't happening between two adults. It's happening between one person's reasoning brain and the other's protective system. That's why logical discussions about trust or forgiveness often spiral into chaos. Even when we're working on the individual level, you can't out-logic emotion. So when we extend that to two people, it becomes even more complicated because now we're using one person's logic to try and out-logic another person's emotion. And of course, that just doesn't work. It's not that the betrayed isn't listening, it's that their physiology hasn't caught up yet. You might understand this in your head, but until your body feels safe, there is no integration, there's no moving forward. And that delay between cognitive awareness and a sense of embodied safety is yet another form of the lag. The second main step of the lag is perception. Let's fast forward a few months, maybe a year or more. The unfaithful partner has been showing up, transparent, accountable, doing everything that they've been asked to do. They've read the books, they've attended therapy, they've opened up their phone, they've built consistency day by day. They feel that they've changed. But the betrayed spouse still looks at them through the lens of who they were. They're seeing the person who lied, who hid, who betrayed their trust, not the person standing in front of them now. And understandably so, because to the betrayed spouse, change doesn't erase history. Every new promise is now filtered through the old pain. It's like the nervous system has a built-in delay, a lag between what's happening now and what it still believes to be true. This is the second major version of the lag, the perception gap. The unfaithful is living in today, whereas the betrayed is still living in yesterday. To the unfaithful, this can actually feel really deeply frustrating. I'm doing everything right, why can't you see that? Whereas to the betrayed, it can feel completely invalidating. How can you expect me to trust what's new when I'm still healing from what's old? We've got to remember here that neither person is wrong. You're just living in different time zones. There's another layer that regularly people don't recognize, and it's the lag of identity, particularly identity reconstruction. The affair doesn't just damage trust, it shatters your identity. Both partners lose a sense of who they are, but, and this is pretty crucial, they don't lose it at the same time. For the unfaithful spouse, identity starts to shift the moment guilt enters the picture. They begin questioning, what kind of person could do this to someone they cared about? How is it I've become that person? They may start redefining themselves long before disclosure, sometimes even using the affair itself as a mirror to see what's broken inside them. For the betrayed, the identity collapse begins at disclosure. Who they thought they were, the secure partner, the loved spouse, the stable family, it crumbles completely, almost instantly. So once again, one person is rebuilding while the other is still sifting through the rubble. The unfaithful might already be in a phase of self-forgiveness even, or at least self-understanding, while the betrayed is still trying to comprehend the ruins. That's not incompatibility, it's simply the lag of identity. Even when both partners are committed to repair, their motivations often start from different places. It's extremely common for me to be speaking to a betrayed spouse and then wanting their unfaithful partner to come on a couples type journey with them. It's also very common for me to be speaking to a unfaithful spouse and them wanting their betrayed spouse to come on the journey in a couples setting as well. But in both cases, we have the betrayed partner wanting to try and slow the unfaithful partner down and to reduce the lag. And from the unfaithful spouse's perspective, they want to try and speed up the process that their betrayed partner is going through and also reducing the lag. So in both cases, there's this need, this urge, this desire to reduce the lag, but they believe that it's the other partner's responsibility to actually make that change. And this is where we get really stuck. This is where the individual's journey is always paramount to the couple's journey, at least at the beginning. It doesn't mean that couples work isn't effective a little bit further down the line, but sometimes right in those early stages where there's such a disconnect between where you are and where your partner's at, it can have a huge detrimental effect because it's like you're playing the same game but with completely different rules, and therefore nothing makes sense from one person to the other. Often the unfaithful's initial motivation is driven by fear. It's usually fear of loss, fear of shame, fear of judgment. And as healing progresses, that motivation ideally evolves into something healthier, genuine care, self-growth, integrity. But the betrayed spouse may still be reacting to the old motivation, assuming that everything their partner does is still driven by guilt or self-preservation. That's the lag of intention. Both people might be doing the same actions, but the meaning behind those actions just doesn't feel aligned yet. Even when the facts are out, the stories rarely match. Each partner creates their own internal narrative to make sense of what happened. The unfaithful might see the affair as a terrible mistake, a wake-up call, perhaps even a distorted attempt to fix an unmet need. The betrayed might see it as a complete betrayal of character, evidence that the person they loved never truly existed. These stories are built from completely different starting points, so they can't line up instantly, and until they do, communication will often miss the mark. Each is speaking their own truth, but they're talking across timelines. The work here isn't to force one story to dominate the other, it's to allow both to exist long enough for empathy to grow between them. And then, of course, there's the lag in trust itself. Trust doesn't rebuild linearly. It rebuilds in moments, small, lived experiences that begin to challenge the fear narrative. For the unfaithful, this lag can be excruciating. They're doing the work, but the results aren't visible yet. For the betrayed, the lag is protective. It's their system making sure new patterns are stable before it risks opening up again. This lag is the most visible and the hardest to accept because it feels like you're both running at different speeds towards the same finish line. But trust isn't built by speed, it's built by repetition over time. So why does all this matter so much? Well, because once you start to understand the lag, you stop blaming yourself or your partner for being out of sync. You stop mistaking asymmetrical progress for no progress. The lag doesn't mean the relationship is doomed. It means two people are processing the same reality on different clocks. That's all. And if you can both recognize that, you can stop fighting about where you are and start focusing on how to walk this journey together despite the delay. You can hold space for the fact that one of you is further along, while still honouring that the other is doing their best to catch up. Okay, so let's figure out how we could work with this. What can we do with it? Grab a pen and paper and note these things down. 1. Name it. 2. Calibrate expectations. 3. Share timelines. 4. Reinforce reality, not reassurance. 5, patience over proof. And 6, remember, the goal isn't synchrony, it's connection. Okay, so let's come back to the top. Naming it. When you notice that feeling of being out of rhythm, name it as the lag. It's not personal, it's process. On the second one, calibrate expectations. Healing timelines won't match. They're not supposed to. What matters is that you're both moving, not that you're both moving together. Share your timelines. The unfaithful can explain what their journey looked like before disclosure. The betrayed can share what still feels unsafe or incomplete. This creates context, and context reduces confusion. Reinforce reality, not reassurance. The unfaithful's job isn't to convince. It's to live truthfully and consistently enough that reassurance becomes unnecessary. Patience over proof. Don't demand recognition for change. Focus on being trustworthy long enough for your partner to see it without being told. And then finally, reminding yourself the goal isn't synchrony, it is connection. The lag will shorten naturally when both people feel safe enough to meet in the middle. Maybe lag isn't a sign that something's broken. Maybe it's just proof that you're both still adjusting to this new emotional time zone. And the goal isn't to force your partner to speed up or slow down. It's to stay connected while your clocks slowly realign. Because healing isn't about moving in perfect step. It's about learning to walk side by side, even when your feet land at different times. If today's episode helped you recognize the lag in your own situation, that sense of being out of sync, of living in different timelines, then maybe it's time to start bringing those clocks closer together. Through coaching, I help individuals do exactly that, find understanding where there's distance, and turn frustration into clarity. Inside the After the Affair Collective, we go deeper into these dynamics, how to communicate across different timelines, rebuild safety, and feel understood again. You can learn more at lifecoachluke.com or reach out directly at luke@lifecoachluke.com. You don't have to navigate this delay alone. You just have to start where you are. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you all very soon.